You are now tuned in to the world's greatest. Tonight is the night. Bright lights, high cloud. Here we keep the throw down. Everybody get loud. Tonight is the night. A-list, can't miss. When we burn it to the ground. Everybody get down. Tonight is the night. We stay grinding while our big cat rising. Steady climbing, now we on top. It's not something you get. It's just something we got. Cause I don't know if you know if you know we playing or not. Tonight, lights flashing when we step into place. And you can feel the raw excitement from the look on their face. It's like the prize right in front of my eyes to take. And the sky's the limit, got no time to waste. Tonight's the big go. Strike quick but creep slow. The competition is absent the moment that we show. Countdown from 3, go. Press X to reload. Yet they still try to topple the kingdom that we own. Outnumbered but outgunning. We're fearless and crowd stunning. Never an error on record. There's no one to protect you. And we would still be right here if all the money was burned. But we stay bumping in your ear cause the money was earned. Yo, you can find us climbing, setting the bar. Or you can find us red carpet when we hitting it hard. It's the truth.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first ever episode of Week of Wrestling here on the Game Changer Spreaker.com, as well as on so many other places that you can check out in the description below. So, ladies and gentlemen, quite a bit to discuss when it comes to this week in the world of professional wrestling, and let's not waste any time. Let's just get right into it, starting off with a little bit of breaking news that actually took place earlier in the week. Appears that Chris Jericho may be done with New Japan Pro Wrestling, at least for the time being. When asked on Twitter if he was done with New Japan, he responded and retweeted to a fan saying, unfortunately, yes. I'm not sure I can really take Chris Jericho seriously nowadays. I mean, in all honesty, it's not that I have anything against the guy. He's just one of those guys who's really good at keeping kayfabe alive. And he's really good at keeping everybody second-guessing on when he's going to make an appearance or when he's going to show up to, whether it be a Monday Night Raw event or whether it's going to be in New Japan. And I honestly thought that they would actually continue the program that they were doing with Jericho and Kushida, I believe it was. Yeah, it's Kushida. I thought that they would have continued going into that, but it seems like that might not be the case. Maybe they're going to just have that be put on the side for now and have them more focus on the, Okada title run as well as the build-up between Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega coming up pretty quick. So maybe that's what's going on, but I could be wrong. So it's really sad to see Jericho leave New Japan, but I don't think he's going to be gone for that long. Now we move on to Monday Night Raw, which was actually from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and for the last time it was at the Bradley Center. Next time Monday Night Raw comes to Milwaukee, they'll probably be at the new arena. That's actually under construction right now. But this is one of those events that definitely I was hoping was going to be really good, and it really didn't disappoint, actually. So many things actually went down during this edition of Monday Night Raw. We saw a little bit more of a development between Bayley and Sasha, as it seems like they are definitely going to be involved in some sort of match at WrestleMania in just a few weeks. Actually, it's coming up pretty quick here. Pretty crazy to think. I think it's less than 30 days, I want to say. Yeah, it's less than 30 days that WrestleMania hits New Orleans. And during this event, Sasha Banks was doing a deal where she was trying to, get a hug from Bayley, but Bayley just brushed her off. It's kind of one of those weird things where it doesn't seem like Bayley's going to be turning heel. Some people might say that that's the best thing for her. I just don't think that's going to work out for her. I think it's best to turn Sasha Banks heel, let Sasha Banks build up a little bit of frustration, finally to the point where she actually attacks Bayley, turns full-fledged heel. She is actually so much better as a heel than as a babyface, in my opinion. And I really wish that they would have done a lot more with this Bayley-Sasha Banks story. Like, if they would have built it up like the rivalry between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, where it just seemed like Eddie Guerrero was losing to Rey Mysterio left and right in every which way. And it just seemed like, Eddie was never going to get that win until an episode of SmackDown where he competed against Rey Mysterio inside of a steel cage and finally got that victory, which made the rivalry actually very interesting. Is that it seemed like every which way you go, Rey Mysterio found a way to pull out, a victory from Eddie Guerrero. It would have been really cool to see that with Bayley over the last few months. But unfortunately, they were more focused on other matters. But they could still create a good storyline with Sasha Banks and with Bayley. And I'm hoping that they do a little bit of reference to the fact that the two of them really revolutionized women's wrestling in NXT, because they definitely did. It just would make so much more sense in the world to have that happen. We found out this past Monday that there were 2 WrestleMania matches that were added. Miz will defend his Intercontinental Championship against Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. That's going to be a really good matchup. That even could be the match of the night on that card. It seems very hard to deny that. And then we have Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle taking on the team of Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. That we could see a mile away, but that's going to be all worth it. You just know that when we see Ronda Rousey and Stephanie McMahon in the ring together, you know Stephanie is going to get absolutely destroyed. And one thing I would love to see when it comes down to the Stephanie McMahon Ronda Rousey deal is that a lot of people would love to see Ronda, use her arm bar and just, lock it in, seemingly almost break Stephanie McMahon's arm, which, would be lovely to see. But honestly, I think that for Ronda Rousey to have her first matchup, one of the things that I could see her doing, and I think this would actually be really cool, considering also she definitely mentioned this in her first promo, where she talked about how, she wanted to be a professional wrestler, and one of her idols, Roddy Piper, was definitely one of the people that influenced her just to get into wrestling. I would love to see her actually beat Stephanie McMahon with a sleeper hold. Now, I know that seems like a very anticlimactic move, but can you just imagine the honor and prestige that would be to pay homage to, Roddy Piper on the biggest stage of them all? I think that would mean so much to Ronda Rousey, and it would mean a lot to a lot of great wrestling fans that really loved Hot Rod. I myself would love to see that. Would be anticlimactic? Not in my opinion. I think that would be just very beautiful. Especially if Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, they do a deal where they say like, oh, Roddy Piper was never, fond of you. He was just always lying and blah, blah, blah. Really make it personal between, them and Ronda. I think that would just be absolutely insane, but I think that would be absolutely amazing to really build that up to the point where you want to see Stephanie McMahon just have her head popped off like a pimple. I just would love to see that, in all honesty. We also had a first time ever, a Symphony of Destruction match between Braun Strowman and Elias. It was everything that you could imagine and more. They made it into a Falls Count Anywhere matchup halfway through the show, which made it even more interesting because you see Elias basically getting thrown by Braun everywhere. The Falls Count Anywhere stipulation really worked to a full effect. And we saw Braun Strowman basically take a standing base, whap Elias with it, and then they just crush him with a piano. It's one of those gimmick matches that somehow it worked perfectly because it matched not only Elias Sampson's gimmick, but it also made Braun Strowman just, again, look very entertaining, but also like a massive beast that can just destroy you with anything. So that was great. Braun Strowman picked up the victory after, I think it was the piano situation. Yeah, I think it was after he crushed him with the piano. Then he got the victory. So really cool to see that. It all capped off with Roman Reigns talking to Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman basically representing Brock Lesnar, saying, oh, he's not here tonight, and blah, blah, blah. Then Roman Reigns comes out, and he basically says that he wants to make Brock Lesnar his bitch, and he's going to do that at WrestleMania. And honestly, I am loving what they're doing with Roman Reigns here. I know it's kind of like a rehash of what Roman Reigns did with John Cena a few months ago, but right now it really makes more sense, is that Brock Lesnar is not a full-time guy. He only comes on certain dates that WWE has hand-selected or when he chooses to come. And even one of the events that he worked, it was a live show. I think it was from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. He beat Kane in 35 seconds, and people were just trashing that. They hated that. So what they're doing with Brock Lesnar now, they're making Brock Lesnar this heel that everybody's going to hate. And now it seems like, there's going to be no choice but to have Roman Reigns be the guy that dethrones Brock Lesnar, and people are going to probably cheer for him. But there's a bit of an issue because of the recent steroid allegations that were brought against Roman Reigns. If these are all fact, if these are all true, there may be a chance that Roman Reigns will be pulled from the spot at WrestleMania, and Braun Strowman may in fact be put into Roman Reigns' spot. I'm hoping that these allegations are not true at all. I really would love to see Roman Reigns defeat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, the finish that we should have gotten at WrestleMania 31, but we didn't because Vince McMahon decided to get cold feet. And honestly, if Roman Reigns hits the Niagara driver on Brock Lesnar, which would be absolutely amazing, one, and two, I think that if that were to happen, I will make sure that I support Roman Reigns. I will be one of those guys that actually will buy Roman Reigns gear once a month for the rest of the year if he hits the Niagara driver on Brock Lesnar. I think that would just be absolutely insane, but it would be absolutely great to see. Other than that, Raw was still pretty eventful. They also featured the Revival taking on The Bar. This was one of the few things I think I had issue with when it came to Monday Night Raw because of the sole fact that Revival lost in a bit of a clean fashion. Because they were on such a roll with like the whole Twitter war between The Bar and between Revival. And the fact of the matter that they really don't have anything for The Bar. They could have had something for The Bar right here with Revival. They could have had maybe Revival pick up a sneaky victory where they, just build up a title matchup between the two of them. And one of the things that they definitely have been not doing is showcasing their tag team division better. What they could have done is had The Bar sit out on commentary, just watching Revival beat maybe Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil, or maybe a rematch between the Revival and the Club. Just have that going on. Build up your tag team division again and make it so that way they are all fighting for that chance to be the tag team champions. That is how you create a tag team division. That's kind of what they're doing on SmackDown because they still have quite a few tag teams on there. With Raw, it just seems like their tag team division is still lacking. It's still missing something. I don't know what it is exactly, but they're just still missing something. And it sucks to see that. So, I guess, it's just one of those things that really sucks to see, that they really are lacking that. Another piece of news is that Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, they are definitely going to be doing they're going to continue their feud more than likely before WrestleMania, because there are talks of the Ultimate Deletion was recorded today because Matt Hardy invited Bray Wyatt to the Hardy compound for a fight. So it looks like there may in fact be an Ultimate Deletion deal going on in the near future. So whether that happens at WrestleMania or whether that happens at a sooner date than that, we'll have to wait and see. I think it would actually be really good to see that at WrestleMania, just have that as a match in and of itself. But I don't think WWE is going to take that chance. I think they're going to make that a whole deal on Raw, maybe continue on with something else. I don't know. It's just really bizarre to see. One other thing before I end discussion about Raw was the matchup between Asuka and Nia Jax. This match was so much more physical than their match at Fastlane. These two just tore each other to shreds. We saw Asuka locking in the armbar lock on her, and this was actually a really cool moment because this made both Asuka look like a determined, wrestler, but this also made Nia Jax look like a very tough individual. Because when she locked in that armbar, Nia Jax was doing everything that she could. Just, slamming Asuka to the ground, slamming her into the turnbuckle. There was a point where she slammed him into the post. She's doing everything she can to get this off. Asuka's just hanging on for dear life. She's trying so hard to just show that she is a resilient, number one contender. And finally, Nia Jax had no choice but to tap out. This was one of those moments that just made Nia Jax a bona fide star. And if anybody disagrees with me, I dare you to fight me on that. I really dare you to fight me on the fact that Nia Jax is a star right now. She definitely deserves to be the women's champion. I'm hoping that it happens at Mania because Asuka still has not selected who her opponent's going to be at WrestleMania. We don't know if she's going to be fighting Alexa Bliss or if she's going to be fighting Charlotte or Ruby Riott after Fastlane. Never know. But we'll probably find out within the forthcoming week of who Asuka's going to be facing. So be sure to tune into that, guys. Alright, so we move on to SmackDown, where we see a considerable more build-up between these guys. I thought that they would have entered Jinder Mahal into the United States Championship matchup between Bobby Roode and Randy Orton, but it looks like it's still going to stay as a singles match between Orton and Rude, which I'm okay with because I think that Bobby Roode definitely does need a bit of a main event level rub to really get him in that spot. And I think that he's really going to shine this Sunday when he faces Randy Orton. Orton had a loss to Jinder Mahal this past week on SmackDown. We saw, I'm trying to remember who it was. I don't think the Bludgeon Brothers were in action. But I know that they definitely had a great promo between the Usos and the New Day where they were building up the matchup that was eventually going to happen on Sunday between the two of them. I'm hoping that they just don't really spam this rivalry too many times because as great a rivalry as the Usos versus the New Day is, if you do it too many times, people are really going to get annoyed by it. That's what happened between Randy Orton and Cena because they were main eventing, every single event that they were doing and they were fighting every single time. It was like, oh man, give us something new. We're tired of this. Even nowadays, people hear a Cena versus Orton match and it's like, oh, great. This is not what we need. It just, it's just one of those things that you can't just always really make, happen all the time. But to their credit, they did actually add a run-in with the Bludgeon Brothers where the Usos were in the ring and the New Day was in the ring. Bludgeon Brothers came out and the Usos and the New Day, they left. They were definitely scared out of their minds. They were just like, oh, yeah, we're good. We're just gonna, just not get involved with these guys. So Bludgeon Brothers are definitely going to be in the title picture sooner rather than later. Maybe they'll be added on Sunday's deal. I don't know. And I'm hoping that they do. They definitely deserved a title run a long time ago. And even with this new weird incarnation that they created, I still think that they deserve a title shot and a title run. So push the Bludgeon Brothers, please, for the love of all that is high and mighty. I'm trying to think what else we had. We had a fatal 5-way matchup, which featured everybody in the Sunday's WWE Championship matchup except for John Cena. And I will talk about John Cena in just a bit. Match itself was really good. It ended with Sami Zayn pinning Kevin Owens, which was one of the shocks of the night because a lot of people were not expecting Sami Zayn to do that because they just were making up with each other earlier in the night. Basically, Sami Zayn's just saying like, hey, you made me who I am. You brought me to this level. I was doing nothing before you, and just really made it like a major friendship deal. And they even shared a hug. And then just to have that, and then to see Sami Zayn hit a haluva kick on Kevin Owens, in which we see Sami Zayn pin Kevin Owens. It's one of those things where it's like, well, this could happen on Sunday, and it very more likely will. So I think that it might evolve into a deal where Sami Zayn says, like, dude, this was not for the title, so I needed to still look very strong or something like that. And he'll still lay down for, Kevin Owens on Sunday. That could be one of those things that could really play a factor into the WWE Championship picture, but we'll see. As far as Fastlane goes, they announced 2 more matches in addition to the 4 matches that they had there. They had Rusev versus Nakamura added to the event. That is going to be good. I originally pitched the idea of Randy Orton versus Shinsuke Nakamura for Fastlane when I did my rebooking for how I would book the AJ Styles and Nakamura build up to WrestleMania. But I really do like the idea of Rusev versus Nakamura because you're basically showcasing 2 young talented guys, and they are definitely going to be very, very good when it comes to Sunday. I think it's going to be a pretty good matchup between the 2 of them. So expect a lot from these 2 on Sunday. We also get Natalya and Carmella versus Becky Lynch and Naomi in a tag team matchup because reasons, really? I don't know. I don't know what exactly could be going on, but I guess we'll find out on Sunday. I think it's just one of those matches that got thrown in there. And I'll actually talk about Fastlane a little later on when I do my predictions for the show. All right. So talking about John Cena. Cena has been one of the main topics when it comes down to the WrestleMania picture, because a lot of people were thinking he's going to battle The Undertaker, he's going to battle Samoa Joe. They thought he was going to battle Rey Mysterio, but Mysterio might be out injured, although I've heard reports that stated that his injury is not as harmful or as bad as people made it out to be, so thankfully that's good to see. And I would really love to see Rey Mysterio versus Cena at WrestleMania. I think that would actually be a really good matchup between the two of them, especially the showcase that Rey Mysterio had at Royal Rumble. It was absolutely amazing how fast he was in the ring and how good he looked in the ring. It was amazing. It was like when he first arrived in WWE. He was just the high-flying guy. He was doing everything that a lot of people were imagining he could do and more. So this is one of those things where a lot of people are probably asking, what's going to be up for John Cena? Is he going to miss WrestleMania? Is he going to even be a part of WrestleMania? There's still a good chance that he could be a part of WrestleMania. And in all honesty, I think there is still one other guy that he could face if they found nothing for him. I would honestly love to see John Cena go one-on-one with Bobby Roode, because this would accomplish two things. One, it would really help Bobby Roode's stock get up high enough again, and this would also be a great dream match because a lot of people wanted to see John Cena versus Bobby Roode for quite a while. And two, this will also elevate the United States Championship. There's a story right there. It's on a silver platter for you. Why not just take advantage of that? Have Bobby Roode, again, come out saying that, the United States Championship is the most prestigious title. He wants to make it prestigious. John Cena, would come out and say, like, I was the one that made it prestigious, so you're welcome. I think I deserve to make it prestigious again. Let's do it at WrestleMania. And just have that deal there. And even for like a brief period, you have Bobby Roode turn heel. That would actually be really good, because then you can showcase Bobby Roode's mic skills at a different level, because a lot of people, they wanted him to be heel when he came up from NXT. His heel stuff in NXT was great, but ever since he was a babyface, he's still kind of lukewarm. He's not fully there. I think that, give him the chance to be a heel. Give him the chance to be a bad guy, and then slowly surface him into a good guy like you would do with a lot of other wrestlers, and they will get a massive pop for that. So, I'm hoping that happens, but we'll see what happens. I'm just hoping that we do not get Cena versus Taker. After last year, Taker definitely did not look like he was ready to fight. He definitely did not look like he was ready to go. Let Taker retire. Let him ride off into the sunset. Leave him be, bottom line. Do not let him wrestle anymore. It just makes absolutely no sense at this point to have somebody who has lost so much strength and has lost so much, just really, it just doesn't make sense. It really does not make sense to have him do that. So don't do that anymore. Don't do it. All right, so we move on from SmackDown Live to NXT, which there's actually quite a lot going on with NXT right now. Unfortunately, one issue that came up was the situation that's going on with the tag team titles. Bobby Fish, unfortunately, had to undergo a surgery, and he's going to unfortunately be out for 3 to 6 months. I should apologize in advance. There's going to be a lot of spoilers going on, you guys, for the for this upcoming NXT TakeOver New Orleans show. So if you don't want any spoilers, definitely leave and come back in about we'll give it about 5 minutes. I'll wrap this all up in 5 minutes. So here we go. So basically what's going to end up happening is that they've already done a Dusty Rhodes Classic tournament. They've already got everything set up. They have the teams ready to go. They have the Street Profits taking on Heavy Machinery, TM61, who recently lost to the Authors of Pain. They have Riddick Moss and Tino Sabatelli taking on Sanity. They had Danny Burch and Only Lorcan taking on Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong. The final two teams will be the Authors of Pain and Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong. But how they have it going on for NXT TakeOver New Orleans, they're actually going to have a triple threat matchup between the Undisputed Era, the Authors of Pain, and Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne. And in this matchup, the winners will be the NXT Tag Team Champions, as well as receive the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Trophy. So in addition to being Tag Team Champions, you're getting the Dusty Rhodes Classic deal. That is great. That makes the Dusty Rhodes Classic tournament that much more valuable. I think that's a great way to do it. So spot on NXT for creating something great. They are going to have the rematch between Ember Moon and Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. I think that this might be the event where they have Shayna Baszler defeat Ember Moon, and then Ember Moon gets the call up to the main roster. I think that's more than likely what's going to happen. They have a 6-man ladder match scheduled for the inaugural NXT North American Championship. Why they couldn't just have revamped the United States Championship into this championship, I don't know. Maybe it's because they wanted to include Mexico and Canada and Hawaii. I don't know. Anyway, so the participants for this matchup, and this is where it gets really interesting because Adam Cole is going to be already defending the NXT Tag Team Championships on this show, but he's also going to be involved in this ladder match, as well as Killian Dane, Lars Sullivan, Velveteen Dream, and the debuting people of EC3, as well as Ricochet. This is going to be a matchup you definitely do not want to miss, and I think this could be a match of the year candidate here. With all the talented guys that are involved in this matchup, it's very hard to say that it's going to be a match that could be hard to top. But it could be because of the main event, of course, being for the NXT Championship. William Regal made the announcement already earlier this week. It'll be Aleister Black taking on Andrade Cien Almas in New Orleans. That matchup is going to be a can't-miss matchup. A lot of the things that are going on with NXT right now, it is just really, really great to see. Oh, man. I mean, geez Louise. This is just absolutely crazy. Loving NXT right now. All right, so I'm about 2 minutes. So we'll just kind of move into the next deal, which is Impact Wrestling. They had their event Crossroads this past week, in which they had quite a few matches. They had Lashley and Brian Cage defeat OVE. They had, I'm trying to think here, Matt Sydal taking on Ishimori for the X Division title, but also the Impact Grand Championship was on the line. I'm going to tell you guys right now, that championship is going to die in a fire, and you will find out in the next few weeks. Oh, jeez. They had the tag team titles, LAX versus Cult of Lee, in which LAX retained. They had the Knockouts Championship, in which we saw Laurel Van Ness taking on Allie, in what was a really good matchup between the two of them. I think that the storyline build-up was kind of interesting, to say the least, because they had the whole Valentine's Day deal, and then the oh my gosh, the commitment ceremony between the Knockouts Championship and Laurel Van Ness. I thought that was actually a funny moment between the two, but with this deal, all really just to bring out, I guess this aggressive side of Allie. I guess I will say, I'm not sure, but Allie became the Knockouts champion, which means that more than likely Laurel Van Ness is making her way out of Impact Wrestling. So definitely expect, I think Laurel to be leaving within the next couple weeks, more than likely. We had the Impact World title defended. Austin Aries took on Johnny Impact, and it was another good matchup between the two of them. And Austin Aries retained, and it looked like we're going to see Alberto El Patron taking on Austin Aries in the near future, because Austin Aries and Patron had like a stare down or something like that. It seems like that's where they're going next. I guess so. Okay. Oh, geez. I did actually forget there was something else I wanted to talk about with NXT. So we're going to backtrack just a little bit, and then we'll move on to another deal that's going on with Impact Wrestling, and then go from there. There were a couple of people that were actually released from Impact Wrestling, from NXT this week. Abby Lath, formerly known as Kimberly, Sage Beckett, as well as Gao Ming Gu. he used an in-ring name of Ming. Another person that may be on the chopping block is Demetrius Bronson. He may be, in fact, on his way out as well. NXT, this is not one of those things where a lot of these people had like heat or anything like that. It's just budget cuts. It's just these things where they're realizing, we got too many people. We're not using these guys. Let's let them go. And I really hated to see that because Abby Lath was actually really good with the ring, especially in live shows. A lot of people really loved her. Stage Beckett, a lot of people know her as Andrea. I believe it was Andrea, or Roxy Ladalove when TNA was around. I was honestly looking forward to seeing Sage Beckett actually really doing something more in NXT or even in WWE. I thought that she was the perfect candidate to be Sister Abigail, but obviously WWE had other plans. Go figure. And Gao Ming, I don't know. He really just didn't come out that much. So very interesting to see that he never really made it to the main roster. I really hate seeing that when people are, they're basically signed. It seems like, they're ready for their debut, and then they just get cut. It's like, well, that was a thing. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about when it came to Impact Wrestling was the situation that involved Sami Callihan and Eddie Edwards. So a lot of people that don't know, last week, Sami Callihan inadvertently hit Eddie Edwards with a baseball bat to the eye. I think he suffered a fractured retina, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of those moments where it legitimately seemed like Eddie Edwards may have gone blind during that deal, and he may in fact go blind. We don't know. We haven't really heard too much in the way of the condition of his eye, but it was definitely one of those moments where it was very bloody, it was very gruesome. It was a very scary moment. Jim Cornette actually went out podcast saying that this guy definitely does not deserve to be a wrestler. He definitely does not deserve to be in there. If anything, if I was Eddie Edwards, I would have beaten the shit out of him. Just one of those moments where Jim Cornette definitely tries to show how passionate he is about the wrestling business, but I think he gets a little overboard sometimes. It was one of those things where I think it was inadvertent. I think Sami Callihan was supposed to hit the steel chair, if I'm not mistaken, because it was like standing up on Eddie Edwards' throat or something like that. He was supposed to hit that. He was supposed to go right to the throat or the chest or something like that. But he obviously missed and it hit his eye. So, yeah, it's a scary moment. It's one of those things where, you can't say that everything wrestling is fake. So, for those that say that wrestling is fake all the time, yeah, you can just look at that and try and tell me that again. Before we get into Fastlane predictions, I want to actually update a couple people on the Cruiserweight Championship Tournament. They've already got a lot of people set up for this. This past week we had Drew Gulak and Mustafa Ali. They have advanced to the semifinals. It's going to be Gulak versus Mustafa Ali in the semifinals, and I think it's going to be Cedric Alexander and I think it's TJP, if I'm not mistaken. I could be absolutely wrong, which knowing me I am. So I'm going to just look at that really quick. No, it's Cedric Alexander versus Roderick Strong. That's right. Now I remember now, because Cedric Alexander and TJP happened a few weeks ago. So, yeah, Roderick Strong versus Cedric Alexander will be great. Drew Gulak versus Mustafa Ali will be a match you can't miss. And it's really going to boil down to Drew Gulak versus Cedric Alexander. I'm predicting that right now. I think it's going to be a really absolute amazing matchup between the two of them. And it makes sense. Cedric Alexander deserved to be in the title picture in the first place, and Drew Gulak was one of the best things that happened to Enzo Amore since ever, really. I don't know. But, alright, so we move on from there to the Fastlane predictions deal. It will be myself. I will be defending my championship against Evan and Chad going into Fastlane. So we got the predictions right here. So let's just get right into it. We'll start from the bottom, work our way up to the top. We got Becky Lynch and Naomi taking on Carmella and Natalya, as announced earlier. Everybody has picked Natalya and Carmella. It just seems like they're going to really build up the heels And this could be one of those moments where Carmella teases the cash-in deal. She may even cash in. We don't know. But I think that they're going to try and rebuild Carmella up again. Because after her match with Becky Lynch this past week, she basically looked like any jobber that took on John Cena. Yeah, I just went there. All right, we move on to the next matchup, which is Rusev taking on Shinsuke Nakamura. This is kind of a given. We all went with Shinsuke Nakamura. I think that they're going to start building up Nakamura again, which is good. And I think having this matchup with Rusev is going to help Rusev as well. So that's going to be really good to see. SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships, the Usos versus the New Day. Everybody also has the Usos. So that'll be a really good matchup. But I think that they are going to build up the Usos versus the Bludgeon Brothers going into WrestleMania. I just do not see them dropping the titles to New Day again. But I could be wrong. Stranger things have happened in WWE. SmackDown Live Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair defending against Ruby Riott. We all went with Charlotte. I think that it's very obvious that Charlotte's going to go into WrestleMania as the SmackDown Live Women's Champion. Maybe she'll defend it against Carmella, who will cash it in at one point. Rumors are indicating that it's going to be Charlotte Flair versus Asuka. I honestly would love to see that. I think that that Asuka has gone through everybody on Raw, so it makes sense to have her go over to SmackDown, really help elevate the women's championship, women's game there, and really just build up that division even more. So we'll wait and see. The United States Championship matchup, Bobby Roode defending against Randy Orton. This one is actually interesting because I think that everybody's got a difference of opinions. Evan has gone with Bobby Roode, Chad has gone with Randy Orton, and I have gone with Bobby Roode as well. So I just think that Bobby Roode is going to retain the title. He definitely could use that main event rub from Randy Orton, but it's going to be a very interesting matchup to say the least. Will they add Jinder Mahal? Maybe. But let's kind of hope not. I'm thinking that maybe they're going to build Jinder Mahal versus Bobby Roode at WrestleMania. Who knows at this point. And finally, the six-pack challenge for the WWE Championship. AJ Styles defending against Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, John Cena, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens. Now, we actually have a very unique point system here, where all the other deals around here have all been just, 3 points for picking the winner. For this one, we have 3 points for picking a correct winner, and 1 point for picking the person who gets pinned by the winner. So, Evan and Chad are both in agreement that they're saying that AJ is going to pin John Cena. I think that AJ is also going to retain, but I think he's going to pin Sami Zayn. I just think that just seems to make the most sense right now, considering that AJ Styles has pinned Kevin Owens. Would it be a blow for John Cena to lose at Fastlane? Yes, it'd be a bigger blow for him to be pinned by AJ Styles. But I think for him to lose without really being in the final decision, that would make that even more impactful for John Cena. So that's why I have Sami Zayn on there. So I'll have the scores board up and ready to go after the show is done. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining me here for this exciting edition, first episode of Week of Wrestling. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at RealFNGame. Give us a like on our Facebook fan page at facebook.com/changing up the game. So I got roughly about a minute and a half, so I guess do a little shameless plugging and do a little shout out to Mr. Evan and Mr. Chad. And that is this. Chad, Evan, I am on day 166 of my title run. This is not going to be a title run that's going to end very easily. And I'm going to bulldoze through both of you guys at Fastlane. And I'm going to walk in to WrestleMania as the champion. That is a guarantee. That is a promise. I will indeed be the champion walking out of Fastlane. And that is indeed one of the and you know what? The reason why is because I'm on my own level, unlike another champion who thinks that I'm not on a level of his own. That is totally fine by me, and I am indeed the guy to beat. Thank you guys so much for joining me here for this edition of Week of Wrestling. I will talk to you guys in another episode in the future. Bye-bye!